Hey, Bob. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the South Hills, also known as Sunnyhill. We're delighted that you could join us this morning. Our mission here at Sunnyhill is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. My name is Bradley Convis. I'm grateful to serve as a worship associate for this congregation. If you're new to Sunnyhill, please go to the sunnyhill.org website and click on the button that says New to Sunnyhill. There you can receive more information about our congregation and sign up to receive the weekly newsletter email. If you're joining us online today, welcome. Please say hello or good morning in the comments section on Facebook or YouTube. That way we can communicate directly with you, say hello, and welcome you. For those of you who are here in person today, a gentle reminder, please silence your cell phones and other noise-making devices so that we can enjoy this service without interruption. If you have a restless infant, toddler, or significant other with you today and need a little break outside of the sanctuary, we have an infant care room in the back corner that you can access from the hallway, and in there you can still hear and see the service. Today's service, titled What Binds Us Together, explores Unitarian Universalism's unique ecclesiology, which means the nature or structure of our religious community. We are rooted in a concept of covenant that traces its sources to the Hebrew scriptures and to the Puritans, but our idea of covenant is fluid and always changing and developing. Our opening words today were written by Sarah Stewart. Bring who you are as you enter our church this morning. Bring your best self and your struggling self. Bring your mistakes and your triumphs. Bring your shortcomings and your recommitment to good. Bring yourself here and open your heart to beauty, to truth, to the door that is open to the presence of God. Here in this church, we are trying to walk together on the peaceable way, trying to hammer out division and hatred and all that separates us from one another. We try, and we will fall short, but held in love, we try again. We come together this morning as a church to bow our heads in prayer, to raise our voices in song, to remember our promises and vow to live by them once again. Please join me in saying the words to light our chalice. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith. May our many sparks meet and merge in a community of soul. Thank you.
Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit to join in singing our opening hymn this morning, Here We Are Gathered. Here we have gathered.
Everybody. I'm Bethany Thornton. I'm the Membership and Outreach Manager here at Sunnyhill, and I would like to invite the new member class forward. Wait till you see how many people this is. Come on up. We've been busy. Yep, just right across there. So I'm going to take a moment to introduce everybody. When I say your name, just kind of raise your hand so everybody can see who you are. So I'm going to start with Colleen Butcher, Colleen lives in Bethel Park with her 2 dogs, Oscar and Sadie. She is employed as an engineer and is involved with a few nonprofits. She has been regularly attending services at Sunnyhill since May and would like to join to deepen her connection to this community and continue her spiritual growth. Next, we have Louis Portella. Louis is a decorated veteran and retired from Navy nuclear propulsion engineering after 20 years aboard 5 ships, 2 shore commands, and travels around the world 3 times. He lives in Brookline, is a level 3 Reiki master, and is working to start a mobile Reiki and massage practice as well as a nonprofit wellness center. This year marks his 25th trip around the sun as a UU. His most memorable experience has been when he led the 2008 General Assembly workshop on how to start and sustain congregation-based UU military support groups. Louis is a self-professed Imagineer and loves reading, Reiki, gardening, flying sailplanes, graphics, and web design, and he's an avid Star Trek fan. He's amazed by the beauty he finds here at Sunnyhill, and he looks forward to more spiritual growth while actively serving this community. And next, we have the return of Duncan and Stephanie Down Hughes. So Duncan and Stephanie moved back to Mount Lebanon, and they're living in Concordia. They moved back this last summer, and they had lived in Naperville, Illinois, a Chicago suburb, for 33 years after moving there from Mount Lebanon in 1989. They were members of Sunnyhill in the 1980s, and they and their 2 young sons, Nate and Ryan, were very active here in many ways, including the youth and adult education programs, small groups, social justice, and social activities like 8 at 8. In Naperville, both Duncan and Stephanie were active in the DuPage UU Church and leadership roles on committees and the governing board. Stephanie served terms as chair of forums, membership, social action, Green Sanctuary, and Jubilee Racial Justice Committees. And she became a UU United Nations envoy, designing and administering prototypes for diversity dinners, ongoing friendship circles, and for Just Views, a documentary and discussion series. Duncan ran annual service auctions, chaired the finance committee, and served as the congregation's first vice president of facilities and finance. Stimulated by UU humanist values, both Stephanie and Duncan became active in the American Humanist Association locally and nationally. Stephanie has chaired the AHA Feminist Caucus. Duncan retired 14 years ago from a career in consulting engineering for transportation facilities like light rail and I-279, I-579 in Pittsburgh. Stephanie's career included teaching at the university level, business consulting, and conducting her own business producing and selling clothes for breastfeeding mothers. Both Stephanie and Duncan plan to be active in democratic politics and progressive causes. Next, we have Matt Cirilli. Matt is a resident of Canton Township near Washington. He is married to Stephanie Cirilli, and they have 1 dog who's really their child named Obi. Matt has been a high school social studies teacher for 13 years. He comes to Sunnyhill after many years of searching for a religious community that felt like home. And he wants to especially thank Jen McLaughlin, Mary Pratt, and me for warmly welcoming him into the church and for being willing to listen, share, and empathize about his transition from Catholicism to Unitarian Universalism. While he has slowly developed his own spiritual path over the past decade, this community has given him the grounding and belonging that he needed to actualize his spiritual evolution. Next, we have Chris Callender. Chris is a resident of Mount Lebanon for the last 12 years, having spent 15 years in Boston, and she grew up in New York City. She is passionate about nonprofits and is the development coordinator for the American Cancer Society's Pittsburgh office. She also serves as a longtime volunteer for Relay for Life Mount Lebanon and a member of the Angels Place Special Events Committee. She and her husband enjoy visiting their 2 grown sons in Chicago and are grateful to have their daughter Maddie home this semester with her new puppy named Winston. Chris believes she has found her place in the Sunnyhill community and looks forward to new friendships and opportunities to have an impact on those with needs in the community. Next, we have Kristen Duncan and Bryce Hosa. Kristen and Bryce are residents of Carnegie and are proud parents of 2 rabbits. Kristen is a case manager for Washington County's Single County Authority, helping members of the community access treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. Bryce works at a locally owned pizza shop. Kristen and Bryce look forward to getting more involved in Sunnyhill's activities and meeting members of the congregation. And then we have Dave Eliason. Dave moved to Pennsylvania from Idaho last November. He moved here after being promoted to contract manager of the Pennsylvania Federal Security Contract. He's on our Safe Congregation team now, too. He has 4 adult children that live in New York, Arizona, Kentucky, and Idaho. His significant other, Candy Anderson, teaches French and U.S. history at a Utah high school. Dave believes that love and acceptance of people different from ourselves is how we grow as people and have a positive impact on the world around us. David has enjoyed becoming a part of our community and is joining in order to strengthen his involvement in our group. Next, we have John Headley, behind me. John is a resident of Greene County, Pennsylvania, and an attorney who mostly practices in Greene and Washington counties. John has interests in philosophy, history, languages, music, farming, and gardening. John chose to attend and join Sunnyhill to deepen his ties to a community of open-minded religious liberals. John has attended Sunnyhill at various points in the past and began coming more regularly in May of this year. He has been involved in the Sunnyhill Book Group and the Social Justice Committee, and as a member, he hopes to get more involved with Sunnyhill's choir, Spirit Ways Cups, and the Unitarian Universalist Pennsylvania Legislative Advocacy Network. He looks forward to making contributions to the life of the Sunnyhill community. And last, we have Mickey Sedota. Mickey was born and raised in Pittsburgh. She currently works for a waste and recycling company and volunteers with a couple of nonprofits dedicated to social justice and local artists. She is a feminist and a nature lover and an activist. She is grounded in her spiritual beliefs and thrilled to become rooted in the Sunnyhill community. She loves getting lost in new places and in deep philosophical conversations.
Today we welcome into our congregation these new members who have chosen to become a part of this church. We are so glad to have you here with us and delighted that you have chosen to share this part of your journey with us. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship, mutual support, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and gifts? And will you work as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to compassion and justice? If so, please say, we will. Congregation, will you welcome these new members with the warmth and comfort of your fellowship? Will you seek to add your strengths and talents to the new gifts they bring to us? And will you share our triumphs and our struggles as our community grows and changes? If so, please say, we will. We will. We're going to recite together covenant, one of our historic Universalist covenants that we say on such occasions. I don't have it on a slide, so I'm going to ask you to repeat after me phrase by phrase. Love is the spirit of this church. Love is the spirit of this church. And service its law. This is our great covenant. To dwell together in peace. To seek truth in love. And to help one another. Please join me in welcoming our new members.
Good morning. It is time for our Story for All Ages. If there are any kiddos present that would like to join me up here at the front, you could come all the way up here and have a seat. Thank you, little ones. Come on up. Good morning. Good morning. All right, good morning. That's okay. This story is called The Treehouse Rules. The treehouse was built on the congregation's grounds over 3 Saturdays in September. Do you know what a treehouse looks like? Yeah? It's a tree with a house. Yeah, it's usually made out of wood, and you could hang out inside it. It's pretty cool. So picture that. Picture a treehouse. The treehouse was built using donated lumber and donated labor of the families who attended the church and the other adults who wanted to help with the project. Even the kids got involved, especially those ages 10 and up, by pitching in and helping any way they could during the construction. And it was a fantastic place to be once it was completed, with a window that faced the nearby playground, a rope ladder to climb up, and a slide to exit. While everyone was happy that the treehouse was there after all the planning and construction, it soon became a problem. When too many kids wanted to enjoy it at once, their different ideas about how to use it came into conflict with one another. The younger kids got a thrill out of running races through it, hurriedly climbing up the rope ladder, rushing through the treehouse to race down the slide over and over again, one after the other. That's probably what I would want to do too. But the older kids, they wanted to hang out in the treehouse after the service ended, playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. One day, a second grader was racing by and interrupted the fifth grader's game of D&D for a third time. That was it. A fight broke out, with name-calling and pushing and even some tears. Some adults demanded that the treehouse was off limits until the children learned to cooperate with one another. Other adults protested that their children had special rights to use the treehouse because they had helped to build it. The Religious Education Committee had meetings about it and were making a policy about the use of the treehouse. They were getting ready to report to the congregation's board of directors with their findings. Meanwhile, the minister considered bringing in a consultant from the district to address the conflict, which is now spread to the entire congregation. But while the adults were arguing and holding meetings and creating policies, something happened. The children who had been temporarily banned from the treehouse started talking to each other and looking for ways they could all use the treehouse together. A few of them remembered the covenants they created in their RE programs the year before. They suggested a covenant could be created for how the kids could use the treehouse. So they sat down and talked about why they liked the treehouse and what made it fun. They discovered ways that they could all enjoy their treehouse in the way they wanted to. They came up with a covenant which laid out how they would be in the treehouse and how they would respect others who were also using the space. Just as the adults were starting a congregational meeting to adopt a policy for the use of the treehouse, some church leaders looked out the window. What did they see? They saw the children cooperating with each other and using the treehouse without any conflict at all. A teenager was dispatched to the treehouse to discover what rules the participants had come up with. And when she reported back to the adults at the congregational meeting, the announcement came that the participants had created a covenant with one another. The adults were humbled. Some sheepishly glanced at their church covenant, framed on the wall, hanging there, and almost forgotten. The congregational meeting was adjourned. The adults went on their way, reminded of the power of covenants, working to find a solution and the commitment of people in right relationship with one another, all because of the treehouse rules. So today in RE, we're all going to be creating class covenants, and I believe all of you in the service today will be hearing more about living in covenantal relationship. So we're heading to different classes today in RE. We haven't done that in a really, really long time, and I'm so excited for it. So if you are in 5th through 8th grade, you're going to go to the Carol Carl Choir Room. Does anybody know where the choir room is? Finn, can you tell us where the choir room is?
It's right out those doors and across the hall.
Right out those doors across the hall. Super simple, right? For our 2nd to 4th grade kiddos, you're going to go with Miss Sarah. Miss Sarah's standing up right there, and you're going to go to the main room downstairs. And And for our pre-K and first grade kiddos, you're going to go with Miss Ella. Miss Ella's right in the back, and you're going to go to the Red Oak Room. And with that, we'll sing our children to their classrooms.
This is a time in our service when we share joys and sorrows submitted by members of the congregation so that we may hold together both the things that we are struggling with as well as the things that we are celebrating. After each joy or sorrow that I share, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." Sorrow from BK Kosmak. She says, "My friend and former colleague, Jay-Z Zapetti, was diagnosed with colon cancer last week following a routine screening procedure. It will require surgery, and he is currently looking for an oncologist in Myrtle Beach, where he retired with his wife to be near their daughter, son-in-law, and 2 young grandchildren. At age 60, this is not the retirement life he was looking forward to. Please send prayers or positive thoughts so that he finds the best care he needs as he begins this journey to recovery. To Jay-Z and family and friends, we hold you in our hearts." A joy from Bob and Beth Hedden. Ben Hedden was married in August at the Hedden farm. And I'm told that everything was perfect or nearly perfect. To Ben and to the entire Hedden family, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Allison Calderon. Allison says, "On Tuesday, September 13th, my aunt's partner, Patricia Laro, passed away suddenly after a very brief illness. My Aunt Terry and Patty were together for more than 20 years, so Patty was really an aunt to me as well. We never imagined we would lose her so soon. She was only 62. To Allison and her family, we hold you in our hearts. Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. We come to this hour filled with sorrows, filled with joys, filled with hopes, with anxieties, with fears, with dreams. We come to this hour afraid for the future of our planet, afraid for the future of our children, the future of our country, uncertain about what might happen next. We come to this hour with a deep longing, a longing for wisdom, for understanding, for community that helps and heals, that sings in our hearts a song that lingers, that gives us something to hold on to that is real and true. Let let us linger for a moment of silence as we hold together all those feelings, all those fears, all those longings in the warmth and love of this gathered community. May we sing together a new hymn of goodness and mercy, that our souls might find something like peace, might find meaning and purpose, that we might find a way of living for each other that brings love and justice into our hearts, into our families, into our communities, and into our world. Amen.
We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for the meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
As I've mentioned before, every now and then I get an email or a phone call or a letter from someone who has driven by our church and ends up feeling annoyed, usually either by our rainbow flag or by the Black Lives Matter message on our electronic sign. Usually I don't engage too much with these callers or correspondence because I find that doing so doesn't seem to help anyone involved in the conversation. But every now and then I do find myself drawn in. On one such conversation, I recall I began with the man who called, and he asked me, what does the rainbow flag signify? And I said it signified that we welcome all people to our church, that the rainbow flag specifically stands for our welcoming people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer. And he asked me, so where do you get that from? Does that come from the Bible? And I said, no, not just from the Bible, but yes, the Bible is one of the sources of inspiration and wisdom for us. And then he proceeded to quote scripture, not so much to me as at me, mostly from the book of Leviticus. And he spoke about how being homosexual was an abomination. I countered with the fact that Leviticus also tells us that we should not eat pork or shellfish or charge interest on loans. And I asked him if he was as tough on shellfish eaters and bankers as he was being on us. He said, I am worried that you are leading your flock into eternal damnation. And I said, I am worried that you are putting yourself in the place of God. Whatever happened to judge not, lest ye be judged? Jesus said not one word condemning homosexuality, but he had a lot to say about loving your neighbor as yourself. He had a lot to say about God being love. He had a lot to say about helping people who are marginalized and oppressed. Then, amazingly, the man was not convinced by my argument, as eloquent as it was. He started talking over me and quoting more scripture, and the louder he got, the louder I got, until eventually he hung up, which I think means that I won. But it was not a particularly pleasant conversation, and I will admit that I was probably not at my best in that moment. But this was one of those cases when, as I say, I don't think anything I might have said would have made any difference to this particular caller. And the same could probably be said of me. This man was basing his argument on certain passages from the book of Leviticus. From my view, the religious laws that are enumerated and described in Leviticus, 613 of them in all, known collectively as the Holiness Code, are largely irrelevant to us today. But even within the book of Leviticus, even within the most legalistic and restrictive book of the Bible, there are some hints that there is something that binds us together as human beings that is more important than whatever religious or civil laws might exist. That something that binds us together is known as covenant. In the words of James Luther Adams, the great 20th century Unitarian theologian, covenant can include a rule of law, but is fundamentally not a legal agreement. It depends on faithfulness, and faithfulness is nerved by loyalty, by love. Ultimately, the ground of faithfulness is the divine or human love that will not let us go. While much of the Hebrew Bible or Old Testament is made up of religious laws, it keeps returning to this deeper theme of covenant. And in the Christian scriptures, the New Testament, Jesus points out again and again that the letter of religious law is not as important as the spirit of the covenant undergirding it. For example, when it is pointed out to Jesus that he is disobeying religious laws regarding the observance of the Sabbath, he famously says, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. In other words, when the laws are not serving the deeper purpose well or effectively, when they are not serving humankind or are in fact inhumane, then we need to change the laws. In this way, Jesus was, as I've pointed out before, the first real humanist, arguing that laws, religious or otherwise, need to serve the best interest of humankind rather than being thoughtlessly adhered to and obeyed regardless of the consequences. Our Unitarian tradition has its roots in Puritanism, which has been quite rightly criticized because of the exclusive way in which the Puritans practiced their religion. The Puritans came to America not to establish religious freedom for all, but really only for themselves. And they were ruthless and cruel to anyone who did not belong to their group, including the indigenous peoples whose land they stole and whose lives they ended in shocking numbers through murder and through the spread of disease. On the other hand, the Puritan concept of covenant, if applied in a more inclusive way than the Puritans themselves did, is a great gift to us and continues to be one of the bedrocks of our UU faith. One of the earliest Puritan covenants was worded this way: "We must uphold a familiar commerce together in all meekness, gentleness, patience, and liberality. We must delight in each other, make others' conditions our own, rejoice together, mourn together, labor and suffer together, always having before our eyes our commission and community in the work, our community as members of the same body." The sentiment conveyed in this passage is one that is echoed in many of the early Puritan covenants of New England, including this example from 1629. "We covenant with the Lord and one another, and do bind ourselves in the presence of God to walk together in all his ways, according as he is pleased to reveal himself unto us in his blessed word of truth." There are a couple of phrases from this covenant, which was from the Salem parish from 1629, that stand out to me. One is "one with another," and the other is "unto us." In effect, the Salem church, along with many other congregations of the time with similar covenants, was making the claim that the ultimate religious authority in determining God's ways were the people of the community walking together in a covenant that extends not just upward toward God, but also outward toward one another. What one does not find in any of these early covenants is anything resembling a creed or a clear doctrinal statement. As William E. Barton, a foremost authority on Puritanism, has written, "The absence of formal confessions of faith was not in any wise due to carelessness on the part of the early Congregationalists as to what their members believe. Church membership in primitive Congregationalism was based not on the acceptance of a formal creed, but on assent to a covenant. And this willing assent to covenant is, I think, one of the things that is sorely missing in our country as a whole right now. In the absence of covenant, any idea of liberty becomes a grotesque celebration of reckless individualism. Individualism of the sort that results in attitudes and behaviors of so many people in our country and elsewhere who are resolute in thinking only of themselves rather than acting from concern for the common good. The concept and practice of covenant, if conceived of in an equitable and inclusive way, can help us reimagine freedom as a means for responsible action toward our best and highest aspirations and loyalties. Loyalties that were expressed so well in many of the early Puritan covenants as walking together in mutual love and respect, with all love and mutual watchfulness to the building up of one another in faith and love. Such sentiments are also expressed in the covenant that we recited earlier as part of our new member ceremony, in which we promise to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. I hope and pray that as members of this congregation and as members of our larger communities, we will call ourselves and others back to the idea and practice of covenant again and again, and that in so doing, we might begin to heal as a people and as a nation. May it be so. Amen.
Please rise again and join us in singing one more step.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us and everyone. Will take one more step. One more word, we will say one more word, till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word. One
More prayer, we will say one more prayer, till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer, one more song. We will sing one more song, till every song's been sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song. Please be seated, and thank you for swaying with me.
It's time for our morning offering. Today's designated offering will benefit the Bucket Bail Fund, a local coalition whose mission is to provide bail for those who could not otherwise afford it, and to work for an end to cash bail in Pittsburgh and elsewhere. The fund is named for Frank Bucket Smart, Jr., who died as a result of being placed in restraints at the Allegheny County Jail in January of 2015. The Bucket Fund works to prevent unnecessary deaths like this one. If you'd like to make a gift via our online giving system, you can do so by going to sunnyhill.org and click on the button that says Online Giving, then follow the instructions. Or you can give by text at 412-324-3130. Text the amount of your gift and the word special if you'd like your payment to go toward the designated offering. You can also send a check the old-fashioned way. You can find our mailing address on the website at sunnyhill.org. For those of you who are here in person, we'll be passing the basket in just a moment. Thank you very much for your generosity.
I'm sorry. Pat Murray, our social justice co-chair, has a few announcements to share.
Good morning. This has been a fortuitous talk today because it's introducing a lot of what I'm going to speak about. Okay, so the first thing, I wore this shirt today, and you can see what it says. It's a quote from Angela Davis. The prisons do not disappear social problems. They disappear human beings. This point was hammered into me by my recent attendance of a PIN demonstration at the county courthouse due to 16 residents of the jail dying in 18 months. It's almost one a month. They did not, I want to add, die from prisoner to prisoner violence. And it didn't include people who were so sick they went to the hospital. And also, most folks are in their cells 23 hours a day, so they don't have much chance to actually physically interact with each other. We then attended a jail oversight board meeting at the courthouse, and it was fortuitous that the Pitt School of Social Work presented a survey that they had done in September 2021 of the residents. There were 1,600 residents at the time, 89% responded, 7% were women, 1.4% trans-binary, and 91% men. A few highlights. Food is infested with roaches and rat waste. 88% go to bed hungry. Daily prescriptions like high blood pressure, diabetes, etc., are not available many days. And 75% do not have sufficient clothes or blankets to stay warm, including when they're sleeping. Okay, so when one is arrested, they're taken directly to the jail. That's the first thing that happens. If you don't have bail money, the fund we gave to, this is where you stay. And 76% of the residents are people of color, 56% black. In other words, people on the lower socioeconomic scale. So PIN is going to continue to be present for the monthly jail oversight meetings, and I welcome you to talk to me more outside of this meeting, but it's kind of hair-raising. Okay, so another PIN event involving you. From next Sunday, from 1 to 4 at Bidwell Presbyterian Church, you are invited, each one of you is invited, to attend an event where you can get lunch and learn more about PIN and provide some input to the plans we want to make for PIN. So there will be trucks there that will include Middle Eastern food, Philly cheesesteaks, and ice cream. Then we will go to tables and chairs provided inside to actually eat lunch. We will have speakers, including a friend of ours. She visited us, Reverend Denise Welsh visited us the summer of 2019 when we were beginning our listening campaign. And she charged us up, and Jim led us in a great spirited song of this version of This Little Light of Mine, and we all actually clapped and moved. It was amazing, okay? And that's Reverend Denise. She gets people moving, she gets you charged up. So come and enjoy that afternoon. Following the speakers, we're going to have 5 tables with different subjects at each table, and you can both learn what PIN is doing, and you will have input. And that they're very much looking for people's input. So this is not a one-way street. Okay, so I think a lot of postcards were handed out, and there'll be a poster here. You can take pictures if you didn't get one. It's also in the beat. So I wanted to just mention that I value my PIN work in part because I get to work in that atmosphere on problems with people of color, and it is a great experience, and I have learned a lot. I have gotten a lot more out of it than I feel they've gotten out of me. So I just wanted to add that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Thank you.
Please join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
We'll close with these words. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way. Go in peace.